Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 416 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited that you are here, and I am very excited for my guest today. Now, this episode is a little bit different. I want to ask you and I want to encourage you to go into this with a fully open mind. So that might mean you need to come back to this episode when you have the space, when you are able to have an open mind. You know, when we sometimes are frazzled and stressed, we can jump into things and we're just not able to give them a clear understanding. Today, my guest is Rahsaan, aka New York Thomas. And he is best known for being in the documentary 26.2 to Life, which was the winner of a dozen festival awards, by the way. While he was imprisoned, he published over 50 stories with organizations like the Boston Globe, Business Insider, Slate, with the help of Empowerment Avenue, an organization he co-founded. He is also known as New York on the Pulitzer Prize finalist podcast Ear Hustle. He also has produced all kinds of films while he was imprisoned and has an associate degree from Mount Tam College. So you've already heard me say the big word. He was imprisoned. He was imprisoned for a choice he made, which is a tough life situation that he was dealt with. And that's why I want you to go into this with an open mind. Because we do live in a world where we are too quick to jump on people and kind of write them off. Good guy, bad guy. You're going to hear me talking about this in the episode. But I want you to consider what he has done with his life, how he has turned around his life. And most of all, maybe if you haven't already, watch 26.2 to Life. You'll hear me say this in the episode. I have not been as emotionally invested in someone's journey, someone's story, because you can see the work they are doing on themselves in someone that I didn't know in a long time. And as soon as I watched that documentary, I just knew I had to talk to him. Of all the people they featured, he was the one that just impacted me the most. I thought it was beautiful the way he had turned his life into, not writing off what he did. He regrets it, but he is continuing every single day to live life, to do his part to make the world a better place. So I'm very excited to welcome Rahsaan to the podcast. Let's go meet him. Oh, Hydropack, I love the work that you've been doing to innovate the handheld to make it not what it used to be, of this big block that you had to hold and your fingers all cramped. I love the work that you have done. I love the Hydropack Sky Flask. You've heard me mention it so many times because it is my favorite Hydropack product. It is my favorite product I've ever seen that is a hydration carrying device, I suppose. So the Sky Flask Speed 350 is my favorite. It has the flip top lid, so you can easy refill. If you are running Chicago, you can fill up your refills. There's plenty of refills stations on the course, so be sure to take that with you and let friends who are running Chicago know that. The flip top lid is my favorite. The way it is intuitive, the way that you hold it. You don't have to hold onto it. It just stays in your hand beautifully. It crushes down really small, so when you're done with it, you can stuff it in the side of your waistband or in your sports bra or wherever else, because it just fits really nicely. This item is my favorite. I like the 350. You may like the 500 if you are someone who tends to sweat a lot more. But go and check it out. And as a friend of mine, you can get 10% off using code TinaMuir10, TINAMUIR10 at hydropack.com. Or if you head on over to hydropack.com/pages/Tina, you can find it there. But again, that code TinaMuir10 is going to get you 10% off the Sky Flask speed. You can also get the bottles that will go into your pack if you are a vest carrying person, as well as a cup if you are interested in getting yourself a cup. So head on over to hydropack.com, use code TinaMuir10. Rahsaan, I am so excited to welcome you to the Running for Real podcast. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
I have to say, I've been so excited that you said yes to this. We're going to talk a lot about all the work that you are doing, all the amazing things that you are doing. But when I was watching 26.2 to Life on an airplane, I don't think I've been so emotionally invested in someone as I was in you in a long time. Like, I didn't know anything about you before watching that, but I was rooting for you the whole way in a way that I kind of now feel a bit weird talking to you because I just was so invested in you and your journey. So I am just so excited that you are here to talk to me today. So thank you. This means a lot.
All good, all good.
And I'm sure you've had that so much. But it's interesting you speaking to you about this because so I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old girl. And as you know, the world tends to say there's bad people and good people. I have always really struggled with that. And I've always said to them, the world tells them this narrative. And I always, when they run around and they're like, you be the bad guy, I'll be the good guy. I'm like, And they say, sorry, I'm the person making a bad choice and you're the person making a good choice, because I just so deep down have always believed that. And that is where 26.2 to Life really for me. And also, while I haven't seen the whole thing, Friendly Signs, your newest documentary that you directed, same thing, just showing different sides of people and that we are not our choices. We are not our crimes. We are not our decisions. So I want to start there. Is there anything you want to add to that? And then we'll start to get into your story.
Yeah, I feel like it's more than just showing that we're human. And it's not that we didn't commit crimes or I'm looking for sympathy or looking to be excused. I'm looking for crime to be understood. And the reason why I say that, when we don't understand crime, we think harsh punishments are going to stop it. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, the streets have the death penalty, and nobody cares about the death penalty. And it's instant. You get caught slipping, you get gunned down, and people are still out there doing what they do. And if you don't understand that it's not evil, it's not just their individual choices, it's the choices of our society that puts people in those positions to make bad choices. Yep. And if we don't look at it from a human perspective and understand what makes people tick and address those issues as a society, then we won't solve crime. Because if you lock up somebody for gangbanging, you don't stop gangbanging. No. They still gangbang in prison. Gang membership goes up and the leadership deficit it gets worse in the short term. Mm-hmm. So you actually don't solve it at all. You just maybe we feel better about revenge maybe, but we don't get a result. And so that's why I keep doing these kind of stories to really just get people to understand that there's human beings in there and they're in prison for really human reasons.
To go in quite deep to start with here, do you think we are in a worse place than we were 20 years ago because of the inhumanity that we provide each other, the dehumanization of, like, quote, the other in whatever capacity that word means? Do you think we're in a worse place now of struggling to understand the variables, the situations, the reasons someone might make a split-second choice that they do and how that can lead to that?
I think society's waking up. And I think that right now we're in a phase of exceptionalism. Anybody in prison who shows promise, who can get support from the outside world, can find their way home. But we still are leaving people behind that are good people who just need help, or good people that are just buried in invisibility. And so we have to get past the exceptionalism phase and just really look at our system as a whole, because these nonprofits and people like me, people out here, formerly incarcerated people that are doing good work, we can only help individuals. We don't have the power or the resources to help a whole 2-point-something million people, right? That takes a system shift, a new paradigm. And so it's starting to get better, but there's a lot of pushback, a lot of sabotage, a lot of people holding on to the old ways because they profit from it, even though society doesn't as a whole. And so it's difficult, but I'm blessed to say that I was part of a crew of people who are doing good work in prison, staying out of trouble, striving to be part of society from behind bars and make a positive impact, whether we ever went home or not. And we were all sentenced to die in jail, and now we're all out. So, exceptionalism is working, but we need to go broader than that.
I'm curious, I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, but if you've seen Unlocked on Netflix and your thoughts on that in terms of the system changes.
Yeah, I saw like one episode, if I remember. Is that where they leave the doors unlocked?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't get to the part where they actually did that. But from what I saw, it just seemed like it showed people at their worst with no context. And it's not what we need. It's not accurate, right? In fact, there were times where they did try to or a moment in the episode where they were going someplace that made sense, but they just backed away from that and went with the lowest common denominator, because the truth is, if you call somebody an animal and you treat somebody like an animal, even if they're not, sooner or later, just psychology, they're going to conform to that behavior.
Yeah. Well, and that I think they did kind of get to that through the episodes of that was kind of the point. Anyone who is locked up 23 hours a day is going to come out of that angry, is going to come out of that frustrated, is going to come out of that wanting to, release that frustration somewhere. And I would like to hear your thoughts, if you do end up watching the whole thing, because they really, spoiler alert, they did reach a point at the end where they did end up leaving the doors open. It showed the whole community coming together, working together very similarly, although different, to the way your group, the group of you in the San Quentin Prison, work together. But anyway, I was just curious. That was a little side question. Okay. So to get back on track with bringing running in here, I've mentioned the 26.2 to Life documentary that you were in. Loved watching that. You were also, during that period of training for a marathon, doing so many other things to work on yourself, to become the best person that you could be, even if you never got the opportunity to come home. And I do want to start from the end in that sense of that marathon. Before you and I started talking, we said that you finished the year that you ran the San Quentin Prison Marathon. You finished 13th out of 13. And I've seen lots of things saying how you were so proud that you were the last person, that you hope maybe that your time will never be beaten in terms of the slowest. Although we've now confirmed that I've run a marathon slower than you. You and I talking before. But what is it? Why so proud of? It's kind of flipping on its head what the approach a lot of people take. Why be so proud of a 13th out of 13 place finish with the slowest time?
There's so many places I can go with this answer. Let me just hit a couple of hot spots. One, no matter how much I train, I'll never be as fast as Markel, the Gazelle Taylor. I just don't have those genetics, right? So I can't compete with that. All I can do is be me. And me is a guy who runs slow. But
Wait, I gotta leave that. Are you sure if you had no other projects and you just focused on running, you genuinely don't think you could run that fast?
One of the things that landed me in prison is my inability to run away when somebody was trying to jump me. I had to find other ways to fight back. I had no choice. I was going to get caught anyway, so I might as well go out fighting. I'm naturally slow. I'm just not aerodynamic. I was born with my second toe and third toe are longer than my big toe. I was born with a defect that makes it like messes with my coordination. It just makes it impossible for me to be lightning fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can definitely get better. I can run 8-minute miles, maybe 7-minute miles, maybe, but I'll never get to 5 or anything crazy like that.
So wait, what does he run now then?
He probably runs somewhere in the neighborhood of 5-minute miles.
Oh, really? I haven't followed up. Wow. Okay. But yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, maybe I thought when you were saying around 3 hours, that I think you could do if you really wanted to.
3 hours.
I think
4 would be a 3.
I think but you would have to give up all the other things that I don't think you want to do that or have it in you, which is fine. No. Totally. As I mentioned to you before we started recording, I used to be an elite runner. I'm not that anymore because you have to want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to do other things. Okay, so that said, you were saying some other thoughts with that. The last place finish, 13th.
Yeah.
Not genetic ability.
Finishing a race, period, a marathon, it makes you, I think, a 1% or a 2%. Like very few people are able to do that. And with the 1,000-mile club in particular, when we start the race off, it'd be a lot of us, like 30, 40, but 13 was all that finished,
Oh, wow.
Okay, and so that was a big deal. But it turned out to be very inspirational because the next year it was 20-something people finished. They're like, if this slow mother sucker could do it.
Which, by the way, was 6 hours. That's not, it's not that slow.
Everybody did it and everybody beat my time. One guy almost was slower than me, but he got it in 6 hours. It was close. But Markel wasn't inspiring anybody. People felt like I can't beat him like I felt. But people felt like they can beat my time. So I gave him a target. I gave him hope. It was inspirational. And for me, just finish a marathon, period. Just if you can do that, you can do anything, because I talk to all the elite athletes and they all say the same thing. No matter how much great shape you're in, at some point a marathon just hurts, and it's just grit and determination. So if you can get through that, you can get through anything.
Absolutely. Okay, wait, I got to go into this. You say this is over 400 podcast episodes. I've talked to so many people over the years. No one has ever aligned or said what I tend to say to people to me in terms of you saying Markel not inspiring people, because it's so hard to relate to. But people are inspired by the person who is slower or more realistic for them. And like you said, maybe not a conscious thought. I mean, it probably is, if people are honest with themselves, a conscious thought of like, I can beat this person, I can go faster than that. But you did say to me before we started recording about this conversation of why people root for the slower person than the person winning. And I've never brought this up or had this in this podcast. So I'd love to talk about this. Yeah.
So I heard something from a comedian. What makes comedy work is you make the audience feel they're better than somebody. Right? That's funny to the audience. If you make them feel like they got somebody they can feel better than and laugh at. Some comedians talk bad about themselves, so we can all feel better about the guy on stage, right? And so I make people feel better about themselves. And I'm sure Markel's inspiring in his way too. But I got so much press, so much love for coming in dead last. The New York City Marathon I ran in 2023, it was covered by like 7 organizations. It made NBC,
like
Runner's
you finishing?
World. Yeah, Esquire magazine. Me coming in 48,000 and change. I took even longer. I took like 6 hours and 27 minutes instead of 6:15. It was even worse. I mean, at one point, the lady with the walker thing ran past me with the arm things.
Yeah, I remember her. I was out there with you, remember?
Yes, with the trash bag on.
Yeah, I was wearing trash. Yeah, but no, you're absolutely right. And I've always found it so fascinating in such an uphill battle with a lot of the brands that I work with, because they, as you said, the fast runners inspire that group of people who are like giving it their all and they're trying so hard and they want to like squeeze every drop out of themselves. But I've always believed the people that inspire people to start running or to keep running are the people who are slower. And as someone who has run at the front and run at the back, I think it is many ways much harder to be out there for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours than it is to be out there for 2.5.
Yeah,
it's a long way. So then when you were running in the San Quentin Prison Marathon. Was there ever a point you thought, I don't know if I can do this? Or was this I'm going to make my way? I mean, I know that you would have been cut off at a certain point, but was there ever going to be a mental, I can't do this, cut off for you?
There definitely was. It was really hard. Like, I think for me, running 8 to 10 miles is comfortable. Mm. But then after that, parts of my body starts complaining, like, why are we doing this? What is this about?
I think our bodies all do that.
And there was one point when I was like, nah, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to go harder. And I was digging in and running as hard as I could. That's probably like the 17-mile mark. And I'm going hard. And I'm like, yeah, I'm hearing Rocky in my head. And this chubby guy just walked past me. I was like, what the hell? I'm running my hardest here. But my legs were so cramped up that I felt like I was flying, but I was not moving very much at all. The guy walked faster than me. So at that point, I was like, man, what am I doing? But the cameras were rolling. I have been talking a lot of junk about P. Diddy, about ain't no way a guy from Mount Vernon is tougher than me. And if he ran the New York City Marathon and I'm a hardcore incarcerated person, I know I can do it. And so that was all out there. And so I had no choice. And I'm really one that tries to keep my word at all times. And I operate with a level of integrity, even if it's against me. And so I had to finish. I had no choice. And then there were two guys. One is Jonathan True. And one is a youngster I don't even know. But like my last 3 or 4 miles, he just started running with me. When it was empty out there, when there was no other runners on the track, everybody else was finished in their cell after they showered and had eaten. And I'm still on like mile 20 or something. And so they came and helped me out. And then even some of the coaches, Frank, like 3 coaches started running with me. And so that helped me get through the hardest part. The hardest part is the last few miles. But when you're at those last few miles, you're at this point where like you really feel like you can't run another step. But you came too far to quit. You never want to be the person that did 4.2 miles. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, if you do 24.2 miles, it's like you wasted 24 miles, right? You have to finish at that point. And so at that point, I just had to finish.
Fueling my body with whole foods is important, but I have to admit mine is not perfect. That's always why I start my day with AG1. I come down the stairs, I fill up my jug with water, put in a scoop of AG1, and it ensures that I'm filling any nutritional gaps that I might be missing with the food that I'm eating. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting in your body. I trust AG1 because unlike so many products, the entire formula is backed by research studies, not just the ingredients. If you care about the food you put in your body, why should the supplement you put in be any different? I know my body by this point, and I know that I'm missing some points nutritionally, but I know that I also am not able to absorb everything that comes in. With AG1, I'm prioritizing my body, and I'm also giving it the gut health that I have found to be really important to feeling good. Digestion is one of the most important factors in helping your body to receive high quality nutrition. And in a recent study, they found that AG1 doubled the amount of healthy bacteria in our gut, specifically 2 of the most prominent species known to support gut and whole body health. If there is one product I trust to support my whole body health, it's AG1. And that's why I've partnered with them for 5 years. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey with AG1. Try AG1 free and get a free 1-year free supply of vitamin D3, K2 and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/Tina. That's drinkag1.com/Tina. Check it out. You mentioned the cameras there. Do you think if the cameras were not there, would it have been a different... You think you would have still finished?
If it wasn't for the cameras and me talking crap about P. Diddy, before the most I ever ran, I ran 2 half marathons and I ran like a 10 mile. And so those are my breaking points. And like I said, running 8 to 10 miles feels pretty cool. After that, my body starts locking up, complaining, cramps, all kinds of physical ailments. It's like you literally running through pain and your body's like, what are you doing, bro? Like, we'll never make the Olympics. Why are we doing this?
I think a lot of people listening can resonate with that feeling because and it's interesting you said that a lot of elite runners have told you that at a certain point it hurts, because when I ran at that level, I felt like everyone except me was going around like giving off the vibe of this is easy. And I was like, this is not easy. I swear I'm struggling as much as everyone else. So I'm glad that people are more honest nowadays and sharing that piece. Okay, so the keeping your word, the following through, the doing something for yourself. What else have you, now that you reflect back on that journey to become, well, do you identify as a runner now?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like it's hard to like say it because like you said, in order to really be serious about it, you have to dedicate an extraordinary amount of time to it. And me being super slow, if I wouldn't train for a marathon, that means I got to put like 3 hours in, at least once a week. That's 12 hours a month. I don't have 12 hours a month. I don't have another hour a day. So it's really difficult. But it's something I love to do in the 3 to 5 mile range specifically. And I still run like once a month. And if I'm not running, I'm cycling or doing burpees or working out. I'm still heavy in the fitness. I feel like basketball and like, having positive impact on my first loves. And so running is like a third or fourth place.
That's fair.
But it's something I really do enjoy. And I intended to run another marathon. Part of me was like, yo, you proved your point. Like, New York is amazing. You're never going to top that. They said there's no better marathon. They said if I try other cities, I might be disappointed, except maybe Japan. But I wanted to run it again because it's just so much love. Like, I never realized how the whole city comes out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really, really amazing how the city stands up.
It really is.
And yeah, that experience just feels so great. But I just didn't have the time to train this year to try it again. And so I don't know. I'm thinking about it. The other part of me too is like, yo, maybe you need to just do half marathons because that's where your body feels comfortable at, the last couple of miles would be a challenge, but like, what is the point of going past the point where your body's not comfortable anymore,
Where are you? Are you still in California?
Yeah. Oakland.
Well, the September 26th to 28th, 2025, San Diego is hosting the World Road Running Championships. And within it, there's a 1 mile, 5K, half marathon, and a mass event, as well as the elite races. And I happen to be on the leadership team for that race. So I think maybe that can be your next thing that gives you a year. What do you think?
Yeah. Maybe it depends. Like, I'm having so much success in other areas of my life. It's hard to commit to anything. I jump on a plane tomorrow, in fact. Like, my life is crazy.
Okay, so let's talk through some of those things. So since your time where you were incarcerated, you have really committed yourself to putting out positivity in the world, to becoming the best version of you that you can be, to, not asking people for forgiveness for what you've done, acknowledging and accepting the choices that you made, but finding ways to fulfill your purpose. So talk us through like how that has helped you process through the choices that you made by, feeling that what you give back into the world is that important to you that it comes in front of other things.
Well, I was raised in a prideful family. We don't like owe anybody anything. We don't beg or borrow. We don't accept charity. And so for me, I have a debt I can't pay, and it drives me crazy. So the only thing I can do is pay it forward. There is no paying it back, right? There is no restoring justice in my case. And so I'm just driven to pay it forward as much as I can, to the point where it can be dangerous sometimes,
in terms of like nothing is ever going to be enough in your own mind and spirit.
No, literally dangerous. I have to go back to neighborhoods where I harm people to go do good and hope they ain't tripping. You know what I mean? I still go. I'm trying to help the homie put a gym in Brownsville, the Brownsville Boxing Academy, ex-heavyweight champ Shannon Briggs. There's no neighborhood where I've been in more ruckus than that neighborhood. but yet continue to go back to try to, help him make a difference. I go back into prisons. That's not dangerous though. But just keep going back to places where I can try to be of help. And so it's a lot. I take on so much, but I feel, not just driven by remorse, but also I feel driven by the fact I see progress. I see purpose. I feel like I have purpose. My life means something. My work means something. And so I go long hours. Sometimes I might be on this computer 14 hours, only sleep about 5 or 6. Something about me, I can't sleep long. I have to get up and do stuff. But yes, it feels worth it to me.
So typically in this kind of conversation with someone who is as accomplished as you, does as many things as you do, and I mentioned a lot of them in the intro to the listeners, I would say something like, yeah, when is it enough? Are you going to be able to stop? Like how are you going to get to that peace within yourself? That question is obviously different for you, but how does that sit with you?
I feel like I am at peace, even though I am so driven. It's just that there's just so much to do. And I feel like I have the answers. I feel like I have the solutions. I feel like get out the way. Like I watch people run for president and spend $500 million to lose. I'm like, just give me that money. I can stop buying us in like 5 cities. You know what I mean? I feel like I got the answers. I feel like I got the street credibility to do some things. And I feel like the urgency is so, like, I talked about exceptionalism earlier. You got a lot of people who are formerly incarcerated, a lot of people of color that are doing extremely well, but most of us ain't. Most of us are incarcerated, homeless, struggling, paycheck to paycheck. It's an urgency, and somebody's falling victim to their circumstances every second, every day, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like I can ever rest. The goal is to just get better at what I do so I can work smarter, not harder, and convince enough nonprofits or find a way to be self-perpetual to generate the revenue I need to hire a team so I can do less and accomplish more. But it's not to ever slow down or stop. It's just to be smarter about it.
And how do all the things you do settle in your mind differently outside to when you were in there? Like, is there any, obviously life is very different. You said you're jumping on a plane tomorrow. How has it been different in doing these things that are giving back now that you're outside?
The biggest difference, I did a lot of stuff from prison. I didn't start here, and that gave me a huge advantage in society. But the biggest difference is I can do stuff myself. I don't have to put the burden of my dreams, my vision on other people. I can get on this email. I'm trying to figure out something now. How do you send mass emails? I'm struggling right now, but I'm on Google. Google's my homie. Google be helping me figure stuff out. So, the biggest difference to me, though, is just how prepared I am for a world society's not prepared for. And what I mean by that is, like, I've been shot at. Like, had double life. And so if a bank sends a little red notice, it's like, it's the bank. They're not going to kill nobody. It's just a bank, Or if a bank makes a mistake and, like, overcharges you or threatens to do some dumb stuff they can't even do, they're messing up, I just get them on the phone. They give me the runaround. I just sit on the phone and run around with them. I'm running around with FedEx right now. We going through it. And I just take these things so calm because they're not life and death. But the people I work with, they fall apart at the slightest little thing. Like, oh my God, what's wrong with you people? This is nothing.
No perspective.
No perspective. The struggle prepares you for your purpose. What are you ready for? You know what I mean? You can't even handle this little FedEx issue. Sheesh. You know what I mean?
No, I definitely do know what you mean. And I think about that often of, how, I was actually thinking about that in terms of with you, of like, do you ever find you get wrapped up in that because you're surrounded by a world that does, of something that shouldn't bother you? Or do you feel like it just is always there?
Yeah, definitely. And I have to learn, right? Like, also, like, I'm one that I get a lot of credit by not looking for it, not asking for it, not expecting it, and not really wanting it most of the time. But other people need that credit. They need that acknowledgement to function, right? And so since I don't need it, I don't stop to, like, make sure I always give it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just, I'm Muslim too. So, and the Quran teaches you that if you do a good deed and only God knows it, your reward is times 10. But if you do a good deed to be seen by men, then your reward is to be seen by men, right? And I'd rather get that times 10. So if I can, I'll keep it a secret. Like, you won't even know I did it, right? Just some things hit the news, dog. I'm just so public. You know what I mean? What we do by nature with this media stuff is just so public by nature. But if I can help it, I'll hide it. But other people, they see me getting that attention and they want it too. And they deserve it. But like, it shouldn't be about that. So I have to remember to acknowledge people and give people the things that they need, even if I think I don't need it.
So that's obviously another thing that was different when you came out compared to when you went in. What else have you found? You mentioned before that you think things are people are starting to get it. We're starting to move in a good direction in terms of the recognizing how important it is to give everyone, to not dehumanize people, to make sure that everyone is given grace and understanding. The media, what you mentioned there, is maybe a negative thing. What else have you noticed coming out now that is different, that you hope will change or that is changing?
I hope will change. I think that we need healing centers. And I think that we need resources in our communities. And so what I mean by that is, I would say, I'm making up a number, but just based on my experience of people I met in prison, 80-90% of them can be returned and be safely back to society.
Yeah.
However, half of those 80-90% aren't ready yet. And so we need a way to heal them and get them ready. And most prisons don't have those services. They teach you some kind of vote that with equipment from 20 years ago that you came to the street is not as useless. It's a useless skill. It's not something that's going to help you get a career in society. Some prisons don't even have emotional intelligence or restorative justice or healing programs. And the biggest secret to San Quentin that most prisons don't do is inclusion.
Yes.
Exclusion is a root cause of crime.
Yes.
Like, one of the things we were excluded from for 100 years, Black people, I mean people of color, was Congress. We got excluded for 100 years. Next thing you know, we got crime.
Yep.
I mean, or excluded from school, right? Once Brown versus Board of Education passed, schools that had to accept people of color started charging tuition to be exclusive. And it created all kinds of wealth gaps and all kinds of stuff. And so exclusion is a root cause of crime. And so we don't, when we isolate people from their families and from society, we make them hardened criminals because they have to be able to be tough and cut off their emotions to deal with not being able to see their kids, not being able to be hugged by their mama. Some prison systems only have glass. You never get a hug, right? So these really inhumane conditions create inhumanity. So we need to flip the prison system into healing centers. But it's a sad day in hell if you got to go to prison to get a college education. So first and foremost, we need to create more opportunities in our neighborhoods than obstacles. So that way, if somebody does go to prison or jail, you can't say, right now, they'll point to the 3 people that made out your neighborhood and they're like, look, they made it, you could have too. But if 7 people out of 10 aren't making it, then that's not something going wrong in the society.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we need to point to the 7 and be like, what can we be doing better? So that way it's not 7 out of 10 failing, right? And that failure becomes a choice, not just not just because of your circumstances. You know what I mean? That you made these bad choices under.
Yeah.
So those are the things that need to shift. And I think this, the nonprofits is doing some things, a lot going on in Chicago, a lot of investment. We're starting to understand what the solutions are. We're starting to invest in formerly incarcerated people. We're making a difference. But like, we still in this exceptionalism phase.
No, that's very true. So do you feel like that is really what's driving a lot of the work that you are doing to keep pushing for that change?
Yeah, the biggest thing I do, or the biggest 2 things I'm doing, I'm going to say, is, or 3, I do so much. But I'm going to start with Empowerment Avenue. Empowerment Avenue Society, I'm the executive director. And what we do is we kind of on exceptionalism tip too, but we empower the best writers and artists and now filmmakers we can find across the country. We're in 14 states, 28 prisons, where we have at least 1 writer or 1 filmmaker or 1 artist. And we take their work and we get it out to society and we get them, the artists and the writers specifically, we get them paid for their work. We got people placed in the New York Times, for Christ's sakes. We got people with solo gallery exhibits. And so we're able to do that. But like, the public also gets to see the other side of the story. And I always say, when the law changes, it changes for everybody. So even though everybody, we only have like 60 people that enrolled in Empowerment Avenue right now, but they all make a public difference, right? their stories move the public to think differently. And we focused on getting them published in spaces you wouldn't expect to see us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're becoming less and less of them because we're getting writers in place everywhere. I mean, magazines everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I do that I really love, because we have narrative change happen at the same time as economic empowerment.
For sure.
The next thing I'm trying to do is something similar. I'm doing a San Quentin Film Festival at San Quentin State Prison. I've been blessed by the administration to allow me to come back and do that. And the importance of that to me is to create opportunities for returning citizens who are filmmakers to go right into the industries and come home to the resources they need. In fact, a friend of mine just came home from prison in March, and he edited Friendly Signs. He's a director of photography. This is what he does, and it's a lucrative career. He doesn't have the equipment he needs. It's like $20,000, $30,000 worth of equipment he needs to do his thing. And so whenever he wants to film, he has to borrow a camera for somebody. Yep. And right now he's edited. He's got my computer hostage. And so we need to create resources because I don't have another computer to lend nobody.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're trying to do and use the film festival to launch it is a returning filmmaker fund. So returning filmmakers can come on the grants in the neighborhood of $50,000 each. So they can go right into their film career. You want to go to film school, you want to make a film, you want to buy the equipment, you have the resource you need to not worry about anything else. And the reason why it's important to invest in these exceptional filmmakers, the stories they tell will have an impact on the whole system, right? Yes. Saving them will save a bunch more people, right? And so, we just really want to make that happen. And also my experience in the documentary film world, you saw me on Delta, but I didn't get a penny out of it. Yeah. Winning film is amazing. And a lot of amazing films are made about system-impacted people. And I noticed something. The common denominator is not the filmmaker. There's dozens of different, it's our stories. And so these could be paths to economic viability for us if we take advantage of this moment instead of just taking
ownership.
Yeah, we need ownership. We need a seat at the table. At least if we're not talented enough to make the film ourselves, at least give me a consultant producer job, Yeah, let's be included in the process. Let's not just let people win awards off our stories and we're no better off.
All right, friends, you have heard me talking about Runner, the #1 rated running coaching app in the world with over 20,000 5-star reviews, according to Trustpilot, Apple, and Play Store. They are on a mission to make running as easy, effective, and as enjoyable as possible. You've heard me telling you about how they do that through creating personalized running plans for all abilities. Doesn't matter if you're a first-time couch to 5K person or a 2:30 marathoner really looking to stretch every second. All of their plans are built by Olympic athletes and expert coaches. And you've heard me talking about the critical piece of the strength and conditioning plans that they have on there, the integrated mobility and Pilates plans. Those pieces are critical to running healthy. I can honestly say I would not be in this situation with my foot right now had I done those supplemental activities that would have prevented me from ending up with a Haglund's deformity that needed surgery. It's important. And with Runner, you get it all there in the app. And my favorite part is that you can connect with other like-minded runners in the community section of the app. So those are some things I really love. But now Runner has an AI feature that allows you to figure out where you are at. It's going to adapt to your workout data as you go. It's going to provide pace recommendations based on your performance. It's going to keep updating as you add your sessions, as you add these hard workouts, and you're going to get recommendations that you can choose to accept or reject so that it will make changes for you. But if you don't want them, if you are following a plan, if you're coming back from injury, you just go as you need to go. Be sure to check out that Runner AI feature that is now on there. And as a friend of mine, you can get yourself 2 weeks free by using code Running for Real. That's Running for Real with an FOR, Running for Real. That's going to give you 2 weeks off. So go check it out. Go download the Runner app and you'll be glad you did. Yep. No, there's actually a lot of conversations happening around this within the running space. Just in terms of ownership. There's a running brand, a performance streetwear brand called Pioneers, spelled PYNRS. It's based in Boston, founded by a friend of mine, and he is really about taking back the ownership as the only Black-owned apparel business in, a ginormous industry with all these big power players, but he wants to do it from a place of ownership, having the community being a part of it, not, as you said, getting like pennies when to be able to just use their likeness.
Pennies? I got nothing. You saw me on the plane. I ain't get a penny. Markel works in a supermarket.
If I had access to Delta to tell them to pay up, I would. I have no connection.
Jeez, I'm good. Just get my boy out the supermarket. Markel's amazing. He works in a supermarket, for Christ's sakes. This famous guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he hasn't figured out.
He is. He's given a lot to the community, so that I hope there is a way out of that for him. So continuing on with this piece of stories and having ownership over your own stories, having the ability to support yourself financially from your own stories. I have two friends in Detroit, one from East, one from West Detroit, who started a running club, and now it's the biggest in Michigan.
Wow.
They've talked a lot about being, about the representation piece of, and their group is called We Run 313 for anyone listening. They've talked about the importance of, when they were kids, seeing someone out there running in their neighborhood. If they'd seen groups like them running around, training for races, how much of an impact that would have made. I'm curious with you, do you think back now, like, you've said that running is, third or fourth down the list, but do you think if you would have seen people out running in your community, which there definitely is now in the community you were raised, there are running groups out there too. Do you think that could have ever tempted you to join?
Well, I saw people running all the time.
You did?
Running from, getting chased by people trying to run.
Not that kind of running.
Running from the cops.
Running in like short shorts with a fluorescent shirt.
I got into running because a friend of mine, Shannon Briggs, I went to Big Bear to train with him for a big fight he was having. And it was my first time running. I tried to run with them. They were running like 3 miles. And when they were on their way back from the 3 miles that I started out running with them, I was only a half a mile down the trail and I was through. I was tired. I was like, yo, this is embarrassing. Mm-hmm. Next time we have a boxing camp, I'm going to be in better shape than this. And so after camp, I kept running and kept running and kept running. And the next time they saw me, I could run 5 miles. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got started. So so it definitely was an influence on me in my 20s. And so if I had exposure earlier, then
Yeah. It's so from that point, did running become a staple in your life, or was that just during that period?
I ran every week. Mm-hmm. I ran every week, kept it running up in prison. And I would run even alone.
Up to when you, for many years in prison?
I would run on level 4, me and Samir. I used to run in CMC. I had a dude named Fancy, and Fancy doesn't jog. He fulls out runs for 3 miles. And so at first I couldn't do it, but I got to the point where I could run like 80% full speed for like a mile and a half, 2 miles.
Okay.
And so Fancy had me doing that. And then I got to see him. I got to San Quentin. I'm running. I see these guys grouped up, these volunteers. I'm like, what's going on over there? They said, if you sign up, you get free sneakers. You get to hang out with these people from the street. I'm like, well, I'm running anyway. Might as well run with y'all. And so I just changed my running schedule to come out Monday nights, run with the crew. Uh-huh. And they gave me Adidas. So it became my favorite running club.
Yeah.
Shannon didn't give me nothing. No, just kidding.
Did you find it overwhelming running New York, having the scenario, the place you were running every day when you were imprisoned was it was the same, and it was like, you knew what you were seeing, but did New York ever, when you ran in 2023, did it feel like too much?
No, it was a dream come true. I said if I ever got out, I want to walk from Brooklyn to Harlem. And me and Claire had made a deal too after that. I think that conversation about that probably sparked it. But we talked about running the New York City Marathon when I got out. And then I really got out. And so we really had to run it. I keep my word. So Claire held me to it. We turned it to a fundraiser for Empowerment Abbey to give it some more substance.
I love that. But
when I ran it, I didn't get tired to the last maybe mile or two.
You're 24 again.
Yeah. But my body was complaining at mile 10 as always. But what I mean by that, the crowd gives you energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are funny. These little kids, it's like there's nothing but 4-year-olds out there. They're all the same height. These little tiny kids got their hand out.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, I want to have a good time, but I'm like, no, I can't just run past this kid with his hand out. I got to run over there, slap him 5. But they have these signs, hit this button for energy.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Or people passing out candy bars and drinks and all. They got live bands playing along the thing. And one lady, she had a sign saying, call me, you have stamina. So the signs are hilarious. They have all these funny funny lines on the signs. Mm-hmm. They are so motivating. And Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. Oh, my God, the all love different. You get.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bronx, though, I get to the Bronx. I cross the Willis Avenue Bridge, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And some lady yells, welcome to the Bronx. And I look over and it's only 3 of them. I'm like, where's the rest of y'all? What kind of welcome is this?
That was when you do the kind of 90 degree
to
180 degree
you go through Bronx and you come back to Manhattan.
Yes.
But then you hit, like, I think they call mile 21, where the Bronx has like 2 blocks. But one side of the street, though, where they got a DJ, they doing their thing. But them 2 blocks. But then it's back to just the barren Bronx after that. I don't know what's going on with the Bronx. But Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens was amazing. And the Bronx for 2 blocks was amazing, too.
I don't remember it being quiet anywhere. But
you got to cross the bridge. Were there more than 2 people there?
I remember the bridge being quiet. Do you know what I was paying attention to, though, on the bridge? I was paying attention to how many trash wrappers were on the floor. That's what...
That might have been me. I was hungry.
That was you? You were throwing trash?
See, that'll carry it with you.
Yeah, carry it with you from now on.
Extra weight. It was extra weight.
From now on, you're carrying it, okay? That's the deal.
Okay.
No, I just had to ask that because, I mean, I just think about that often for people who run like the rural town people, the small town races. Going to New York is a lot. But I guess for you being someone who was raised in New York, it was New York, right? You were raised?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of knew that as your background. Yeah. Okay. Let me think. Oh, I did want to ask you about, I read that I didn't know that Mount Tam and the Dipsy Trail kind of becomes a focus for people within the San Quentin Prison. Was that something for you that was motivating?
Let me tell you my Dipsy story.
Please do.
So we have this amazing lady named Diane, who's like a 2-time, maybe even 3-time Dipsy champion. Mm-hmm. And she like damn near qualified for the Olympics. Like she can run. She's done 100 milers, all that. So she's always talking about the Dipsy, and all other coaches are talking about the Dipsy. And they say, when you get out, we're going to take you to run the Dipsy. And so I was hearing that guys get out, and one of the first things they do, coach signs them up, and they run the Dipsy. Mm-hmm. So when I got out, I was like, I'm going to run the Dipsy. 7 miles, that's in my range, you know. And so I think it was in June of 2023, Jim, one of the coaches, calls me up or emails me and says, we're going to do a training run for the Dipsy. Would you like to come? I'm like, yeah, I'm there. And so I meet him there. And Markel was supposed to be there, but like he made some kind of excuse where like he's injured. He'll meet us at the end. So I'm like, oh, that's strange. Okay. And so I run the Dipsy and I get there and the Dipsy's nothing like I thought. First of all, it starts off with like, I think 300 stairs. Yeah. So as soon as you run 300 stairs, and these stairs are like broken, like they like not in great shape. Mm-mm. They're like stairs in a haunted house, and you have to like watch where you're standing because like sometimes a stair is missing. They're very dangerous stairs.
Yeah.
And then you get on the Dipsy trail after you get up there, and there's like a little tiny trail. Like it's barely enough space for 2 people to run side by side, if possible. Mm-hmm. And then it's like a 6-foot drop on both sides. Yeah. And then there's all these like tree branches sticking out. For some reason, there's these areas where it's like wet, even though it was sunny. Like slippery, muddy.
Yeah.
It's like a death trap, the Dipsy race. And so I just remember being scared to death the whole time. And I'm like, yo, I'm just going to keep my eyes glued to the ground. And mind you, like that stairs wore me out. I had to catch up.
Yeah.
I mean, but then you get into it, you get back to it, and you kind of get into it. But I had to catch my breath after the stairs. But they're like a 65-year-old man, a 7-year-old man running past me. He ran the Dipsy and came back. Like he's just showing off. Meanwhile, I'm still scared to death because it's the most dangerous trail I've ever been on.
Sure.
And Jim he wants to take me the scenic route to run through what he calls the redwoods to see how beautiful the trees are. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh yeah. I'm like, nah, I don't want to see that. I can't see it. All I kept telling myself, if I take my eyes off the ground, I'm going to trip and fall 6 feet and break something. And so I kept saying, give your body the information. Give your body the information. Keep your eyes on the ground. So I'm not seeing trees. I'm seeing mud, rocks, tree branches, missing steps. I'm seeing traps, right?
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, and then I get to the end of the Dipsy, and some other formerly incarcerated people there, Jonathan Chu, Eddie Arena, and Markel are all waiting at the end. And they said, did you fall? I said, no, thank God. I kept my eyes glued to the ground. I had a plan. And they talked about how they all fell their first time. And I realized, you didn't tell me that it's dangerous, that you all fell? You invited me on something that you all fell on? You don't want to give me that information up front? And I figured out Markel's not really injured. He's just not running the Then he confided in me, I'll never run the Dipsy again. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you give me a call? Oh, no, the Dipsy is, I salute everybody that runs it, because I can't even imagine running it with hundreds of people at the same time on that little trail. I imagine somebody might be jockeying for position a little aggressively like a New Yorker, and you might end up on the other side of that 6-foot drop.
That's true. But you got that New Yorker brain. The trail world, those people are very chill. They're kind of, I mean, maybe at the front they're pushing each other. Yeah, you'd hope not. I don't know. I can see what you're saying. There's definitely parts where it was very narrow. You were very hyper aware that you can fall at any point. Yes, I could see that. Did you enjoy the view at the top when you felt like you were above the clouds? Was it at least some semblance of being worth it at the top?
I don't remember that.
Maybe
I just remember because you run up and then you're going downhill, and then the race gets a lot easier.
I haven't done the race. I've just done it on my own. So I mean,
this was just the training run, but it's like 20 of us running this training run. Yeah. I was in the back though. But like I said, I kept my eyes glued to the ground, so I probably missed that. The next thing you know, you get downhill, and then you're like by the beach.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So I would just remember like eyes glued to the ground. It's hard, but now I got a lot easier. Up downhill. Downhill feels amazing. I feel like I'm running faster now, and we're getting this thing over with.
Okay, so we're not adding a 50 or 100-mile ultra to your bucket list then?
We are never running a 100-mile, 50, 100-mile ultra. Never. The 26 is crazy.
We'll see. Never say never. But yeah, I would be surprised. I'll say that. Okay. To wrap up here, is there anything you would like to share to finish here about what we've talked about today? Any of the pieces, any last pieces of, anything to share?
Yeah, I would just like to say running is like this sport where like you're just trying to be your best. You're not competing with anybody. You win just by showing up and just running as many miles as you said you were going to run that day. But when we do it in community, it's even better. So
absolutely. Could not agree more. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really loved talking to you and just, as I said, really love the work that you're doing. I will put lots of links in the show notes for people to go check out your various things that you have worked on, created, directed, produced. You are doing many things, and just appreciate you for joining me today. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. And if this is not out by September 24th, Friendly Signs is showing at New Parkway, 6 p.m., Oakland, September 24th.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Peace.
Before we go any further, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Running for Real team. Without them, I would not be able to do barely anything compared to what I'm able to do today. They are behind the scenes. They are there for me. I am just so appreciative of them. To Jeremy Nessel, our podcast editor, audio consultant, and someone who's been with me since the start. To Sally Pontarelli, our content and operations manager, who is there day to day doing all the things to help me be successful. To Kelsey Wang, our head of design, and Louise Murphy, our associate designer. And finally, to Sandy Gutierrez, our photographer and content strategist. I am appreciative of all of you and wouldn't be able to do what I do without you. If you have not already watched the documentary 26.2 to Life, I strongly encourage you to do that. Also, check out Ear Hustle. It's a really cool podcast. and many of the other things he has produced, like What These Walls Won't Hold. Actually, he hasn't produced Ear Hustle. He's New York on it. He produced What These Walls Won't Hold, and he's working on all kinds of other things. So you really should check out what he's doing. I appreciate you going into this with an open mind, listening, learning, being open to considering the way our situation affects the choices we make, and also what choices you would potentially make in that situation. Thank you for listening. I encourage you to go to the show notes at runningforreal.com/episode 416. And there you will also find links to our partners for today. That is Hydropack, AG1, and Runner. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week.